of the brackets, this is not like the easiest one, which is surprising. You would think that UConn would get the best one. Doesn't feel like it.
No, and even if they get past Stetson, which even they should get past it, but you never know. I caught myself saying that.
Big Hatters fan.
Oh, watch out. The Hatters. But, at the same time, Chelsa, whereas a 16 beating a 1 used to be something that we thought it would never happen. And now, I don't want to say it's happening more frequently, but we've seen it more often for sure. So it's not necessarily the given that it has been in the past. Certainly, I think we all expect UConn to advance, but taking on perhaps in the next round someone like Florida Atlantic. We remember the run they had last year. They have experience there. You talk about Auburn in the same bracket. Illinois is going to be a really tough out. They're very talented. I'm not as high on Iowa State as I think some people are, but there's no question they smashed Houston in the final. So when you look at all these teams, even San Diego State, another team that made the Final Four last year after so many years of the Mountain West struggling. So when you're absolutely right. For a number 1 overall seed, the committee didn't do them any favors. They will have to earn it. It might not be the sexiest teams that you look at brand-wise, but when you look at the talent and what these teams have done recently in this side of the bracket in the East region, it's not going to be an easy road.
No. Which sucks because going into the tournament, didn't UConn feel like the trustiest pick? Like they're the only team that's been a dominating force the entire season. They can beat you in a multitude of ways. They're good on the offensive side of the ball. They've got a great big man in Donovan Clingan who seems to do whatever he wants. They have great guard play and they have a great defense. So it feels like the most trustworthy team. And also going into the tournament with some momentum, they won their conference tournament. But so did 3 other teams in this bracket. So there is a ton of momentum for a lot of teams in the East region. I'm wondering if we get to see Auburn potentially matched up with UConn because that would be an interesting matchup. Of course, Auburn led by their big man, Janai Broome, who has been fantastic in the SEC so far this season and a big reason why they won the SEC tournament. Speaking of good head coaches, we got to talk about Tom Izzo because I feel like this is going to be square play central. Taking Michigan State, laying 1.5 points against Mississippi State. Like, I think you can certainly make a case for Michigan State, but how many people are automatically advancing the Spartans through simply because of Tom Izzo? Do you think this is a thing, and do you think it's warranted in this matchup?
Yeah, I do. I think it's warranted. I understand why people give so much credence to guys like this because that experience it's really incalculable. And the reason why is that, look, especially now in college basketball, experience is rare when you talk about teams now in college basketball. It does happen. There are some teams that have a lot of experience, like Tennessee is a very experienced club this year. Florida Atlantic is a club that has a lot of experience. North Carolina has a lot of experience. So, but that's more of the, I think, more of the exception than the rule. So the one common denominator, or the one thing that you can rely on year in and year out with so many players moving around now because of the portal or guys leaving early, whatever it is that you've got a head coach who knows exactly how to make sure his team's demeanor is what it should be, who knows what to expect, who knows what buttons to push, who knows how to make sure his team doesn't overlook maybe an early round matchup. And then you have the fact that they've won it before. And once you put all of those things together, then it matters. It matters in a big way, just like you can criticize someone like Rick Barnes for being a guy who hasn't been able to have that success that maybe he should have. You also have to give credit to the names like Tom Izzo, like a Scott Drew, like maybe a Bruce Pearl or a Bill Self, guys who have done it well and done it for a long time because they make a difference, particularly when you're talking about such a short spread like Michigan State laying 1.5 points. Those coaching decisions, one coaching decision can make a 2-point swing in a game. Absolutely.
NC State had no business being in the NCAA tournament, but after this weekend and these last 5 days, they've punched their ticket. So what do you do with these teams that kind of get catch on fire? But of course, NC State's not going to have a great matchup here. They nabbed the 11 seed, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
warranted. They did not have a great year. If you look past like the last 5 days, teams that go into the tournament hot, how much does that go into the handicap for you?
It's a very good question. We're talking South region here on the show. Memphis, Brooklyn, Pittsburgh, and Indianapolis are the sites. Houston is the 1 seed, Marquette the 2 seed, and then you can go down the list. Kentucky the 3 seed, Duke the 4 seed, and then there are your NC State Wolfpack, the 11 seed, taking on Texas Tech. Texas Tech laying 5.5 in Pittsburgh. I feel like, and you will know more than me, but a team that starts playing well this time of year like they have, then I say you kind of roll with the hot hand, at least early on. Although I think the thing I worry about more than anything else, because they were really, this was not some sort of fluke winning the ACC. They went back and forth with Carolina and just matched them shot for shot, just like they did in every single game in that tournament, just playing at a very high level. I don't expect necessarily a drop off, but what I wonder is this going to be one of those super, super trendy picks? You know what I mean? Where, oh my God, NC State won the ACC tournament, and now they're getting 5 points. I would tend to lean towards the Wolfpack. You're giving me this red-hot team coming off this string of victories, and I'm getting 5.5 points. But I also feel like, am I being sucked in to the same sort of bet that everyone else is going to be on?
Oh, for sure. It's going to be a square dog. That's for certain. But also, you're getting 5.5 points with a team that is playing with house money, because that's the other mentality going into this. This is not a team that was supposed to be here. So these type of teams, I feel like, play looser. And sometimes you'll see this from like the top seeds where they are playing with so much pressure that you can feel it when they go down.
Yeah.
Like, remember that game last year, Purdue and who was it, St. Peter's? You could tell the look on the kids' faces that they were supposed to win this game. And in their mind, they started unfolding the scenario in which they lose to one of these small schools. NC State is one of these teams that is not playing with any of that pressure. So I think it's either NC State or nothing for me. Like, I'll take the 5.5 points, and maybe I don't officially play it. Maybe that's when you say, okay, it's a square dog, but I'm not going to take the other side. Nobody is coming into the tournament with less momentum, probably than the Kansas Jayhawks, who ended the season extremely injured. Hunter Dickinson was out. Kevin McCullough Jr. was out, and they had a pitiful performance in their conference tournament. And we have a Samford team that has been an absolute wagon in the mid-majors. So you're giving me 7.5 with Samford. I think I will take those dogs, the Bulldogs, as well.
Love it. I don't trust Kansas at all right now. Kansas is a mess. Not only are they banged up, they're just playing bad basketball. And so this is a Samford team that is not very big. They're very small. So what are they going to do? They're just going to fire away. And they love – that's why the total is set at 150 and hook. Samford will shoot a lot of three-point shots. They're going to fire away from outside. And because Kansas will likely be missing Hunter Dickinson, what does that mean? It means that they'll probably go to the outside more than they would normally because Dickinson's not going to be there. I don't know if McCullough's going to be back or not, but Kansas is a team to me that is kryptonite right now. I would happily take 7.5 in Samford.
Yeah, Samford shooting 39.3% from the 3-point line, which means they may live and die by the three-pointer. So there's a chance they went outright, but there's also a chance that that size disadvantage catches up to them. I'm hoping it's not the case, because I'll say there's nobody on their schedule that looks like Kansas, at least at full strength. But we shall see. That's definitely one where I am taking a long, hard look at the underdog.
Which team, in your opinion, doesn't deserve to be dancing?
Well, I'm not surprised that any of them are. So I'm gonna tweak that question a little bit and say which team is maybe the most disappointed, right, with what the draw that they got or how they got treated. And I thought that in general the Mountain West teams were really treated shoddily, but the one that I thought was just ridiculously treated poorly was Boise State, a team that I thought was going to be a 7 seed, ended up in a play-in game, and a team that you looked at their profile, and there was really nothing wrong with it. I mean, they went 6-5 in quad one games. They were 7-3 in road games. The worst thing they did was lose at home to a pretty decent UNLV team, and for them to be in a play-in game. It was just really, I thought, a poor decision by the committee. I thought the committee got the selections right, but there was some real head-scratching seedings. You kind of look through the bracket, and the teams that probably ended up a little better off than the numbers suggested that they would be are Gonzaga probably by a couple lines, Florida Atlantic by a line or two, San Diego State probably by a line, maybe two. All teams that have made recent runs and are not in power conferences. And then the teams that kind of, I think were underseeded were pretty much the entire rest of the Mountain West, and oddly enough, Florida. But that was kind of how I sized it up. I actually thought we would see Virginia in the field. They're the sort of team that, there's some issues there. They have a really bad habit of getting blown out by good teams. But they didn't have any bad losses. Their best work came away from home. So overall, that's kind of where things stood there.